Page 54, Standing Committee Report number 600, third reading of Senate Bill 237, Senate Draft 2, relating to public school lands.
Discussion. Senator Thielen. Senator Sloan.
Reservations, please.
So noted. Senator Thielen.
Thank you, Madam President. I have reservations about this bill, and I'd like to explain them. Up until now, the Department of Education has relied upon the Department of Land and Natural Resources to do any leases, sales, or easements for land. And the way the Department of Land and Natural Resources manages these lands is governed very strictly under Chapter 171, where public leases must be done through public auction and public bidding and notice. This bill, with the way it's crafted right now, exempts these pilot projects from Chapter 171-13 and then also Section 302A-1151. As best I can tell from reading these, what it means is that the department would then have the authority to enter into long-term leases for these lands, but it would not be governed by any law regulating public auction or how it enters into discussions for those leases. I have asked questions about why these exemptions are necessary. I hope these are answered because I do understand that we need funds to improve our schools, but I think we also need to be cautious about how we engage in long-term leasing of public lands. The other concern I have with the bill is it requires the Board of Education to, quote, foster school and community participation, end quote, in the selection of the two sites for the pilot project, but it doesn't provide any definition about what that means. I think at a minimum we need to be adding provisions in here that would govern the long-term leasing of public lands so it's done in a public and cautious manner, and then also provide some more detail about the engagement with the schools, the parents, and the communities in the selection of the pilot projects. Thank you very much.
Further discussion, members? If not, Senator Tokuda.
Thank you. I rise in support of this measure.
Please proceed.
Thank you, colleagues. Originally, I called this the Lieutenant Governor Shan Tsutsui Needs Something to Do bill. But in all seriousness, and especially since here staff's probably watching this measure, Senate Bill 237 is actually the Senate's response as to how we can maximize the use of our public school lands and facilities to update and build 21st century schools for the benefit of our students, teachers, and all of our communities. While a few legislative approaches have been considered over the past 2 years, we have been working on these initiatives since well into 2011, actually probably 2010. Your committee has decided to take a very prudent, cautious approach in the development of school lands and authorize a limited 2-site pilot program that includes a 3-year sunset and multiple requirements for reporting and extensive community engagement. I would also like to note and just respond to the previous speaker that while we have exempted them from going through the boards of land and natural resources leasing requirements, I'm sure that given that we have authorized the Lieutenant Governor to facilitate this program, that can be something that we take a look at in terms of having them work with the Department of Education to actually be the one to engage with those leases. I know in the past there have been difficulties between the Department of Land and Natural Resources and the Department of Education to even work together for various land transactions or gifting, and I think that was the initial reason why authority had solely been given to the Department of Education, because when we had multiple agencies working together, we have had difficulties in those particular issues. But as this moves forward, we can perhaps look at moving that authority back to the Board of Land and Natural Resources in terms of having them work on those particular 2-site leases. Again, I want to reiterate, this is a very prudent approach. We are only looking at 2 sites over the next 3 years. This is a proof of concept. We want to see how this will work. And again, this is really to make sure that we can look at benefiting all of our students. We know this for sure. The money that we put into our CIP budgets every year for repair and maintenance and capital improvements will not get us to the mark. It will not get us to that point where we can provide 21st century schools that our children deserve. The only way we can do this is by increasing revenue, and we need to be creative and think out of the box. So we're going to start by looking at a very prudent piloted approach. And this is the approach the Senate Committee on Education is putting forward for your consideration. And I humbly ask for your support in moving this forward, and hopefully we can pass something through this year so that we can get started on this discussion. Thank you.
Further discussion. Senator Solomon.
Okay, thank you. All right, now that's pretty scary, Madam President, but okay. Yeah, for me. Okay, all right. But anyway, Madam President, I'd like to speak in support of this measure.
Please
and I'd
proceed.
like to speak in the support of our chairwoman in education. I think that this is a measure that would propel us into the future, and I'm looking forward as to how these pilot projects would work. And I feel that the school properties that would most benefit from this new agenda would be those on the neighbor islands. We have many school properties that are celebrating their 100th and 125th birthdays, and our thoughts are, as if we're looking for our future so that our students can compete in a global economy that requires high-tech vision, infrastructure is the key to their success. So with that, Madam Chairman, please note that I will be voting yes and encourage all my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Further discussion, members. Senator Taniguchi.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to speak in opposition.
Please proceed.
Just, I guess my concern is that potentially a school in my district may be impacted, and that I think we are concerned that, you know, at the school that this has been expressed to me that they do not wish this to happen to them as a pilot or in the future. So I'll be voting in opposition. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion. If not, do we have unanimous consent? No votes for Senator Taniguchi, Senator Green, all others voting in the affirmative.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Senate Bill 237, Senate Draft 2, passes third reading.
Standing Committee